Alright, so what's going on, guys? My name is Muphlez and welcome to the channel. Today I'd like to talk about something that I haven't really talked about in my other videos up until this point, and that is the zombies storyline. And for many of you, this is probably old information. I'm sure you've seen this blasted all over the internet for months now since the initial leaks months and months ago during the life cycle of Black Ops 6. But especially since the ending cutscene of Reckoning, they have decided to bring back the OG crew, that being Dempsey, Takio, Nikolai, and Richtofen. And since then, Treyarch has released plenty more information about these new versions of our old characters, with full descriptions of who they are, how they fit into the group, and what time periods or dimensions they're from. Starting with Dempsey, it says, this incarnation of Tank Dempsey is a battle-hardened U.S. Marine who's most recently fought through the jungles of 1968 Vietnam with grit, sarcasm, and a relentless will to survive. In this fractured reality, his distrust for his new companions and the unfamiliar surroundings have turned this otherwise dependable soldier into the unpredictable wildcard of the group. Takio's goes as follows. Takio Masaki is a disgraced Ronin who wandered 1591 feudal Japan without master or honor, carrying the weight of his exile as a yoke he cannot cast off. Bound by a code he only still barely believes in, he seeks redemption in the chaos of battle, his blade both a burden he must bear and a judgment on his enemies. Nikolai says, Soviet tank commander Nikolai Volensky arrives in the dark ether from the brutal mountainous landscape of 1984 Afghanistan, where duty, disillusionment, and misfortune collided. Scarred by war and haunted both by betrayal and his own decisions, he masks his bitterness with dark humor yet remains a steadfast warrior when the shells begin to fall. And finally, Richtofen's. Dr. Edward Richtofen, a brilliant but unhinged scientist, the hero of the Reich, finds himself torn from 1945 in a world where the Axis powers triumph over the Allied nations. Shaped by ambition and tainted by corruption, he masks his innate sadism and considerable ego behind quick wit and a charming smile. He vows that reality itself will ultimately bow to his designs.
They come from different timelines, different realities. Nikolai is a Soviet tanker in their 1980s conflict in Afghanistan. Takio hails from 16th century feudal Japan. He's a disgraced samurai. Dempsey, fresh from battle in Vietnam. Last but not least, Richtofen comes from the 1940s in a timeline in which Germany won World War II.
I know you're seeing a face and a name that you think you know, but I guarantee you don't know these guys.
So right out the gate, it seems that they have created these new versions of the characters to be distinctively separate from who we knew before, essentially rewriting them as new people with familiar faces, which to me is the safest option. If you were going to bring our characters back, you would want to get some distance between the old ones and the new ones. But at the same time, I think the door is still just slightly open for the opportunity for them to mess up these characters exponentially, because even the act of bringing them back in the first place already kind of does like downplay the entire ending of Toten. And unless the writing in Black Ops 7 Zombies is like extremely good, which, you know, honestly it could be. I saw that interview with Nolan North on the COD Pod. He said that this is the best story that he's done in the franchise while playing the character of Richtofen.
I just got back from a Comic-Con. They said, what's your favorite zombies? I said, the one that's coming out.
And I'm not sure if that's entirely true or not, because he is a voice actor and it seems that he does actually enjoy working with Activision.
Activision, I love you dearly. You've been so good to me.
Which, you know, slight red flag in my opinion, but it's like, it is his employer and of course he is going to want to keep a good relationship with them. So his opinion on that might be slightly swayed, but of course I know he does love the character of Richtofen. I know he loves playing Richtofen, and he does a fantastic job as well. I wouldn't want to see anyone else replace Richtofen when it comes to voice acting. Because unless the story of Black Ops 7 kind of explains away Nikolai essentially being wrong at the end of Toten, then I don't see how this could possibly be the best, because that's quite a big plot hole in the story to not focus on. The main point of the ending of Toten was that these characters and the Ether both existed because of each other. One cannot exist without the other one. So when Nikolai puts this plan together to kill them all, essentially, including himself, it deletes them, right? So they're dead. dead, they're gone, and that means the ether can now be destroyed, because one cannot exist without the other, and they need each other to survive. So they all had to die in order for the multiverse to come to an end, in order for the zombie outbreak to end, in order for Monty and the Shadow Man to no longer be tormenting the entire universe. All of it had to come to an end, and their sacrifices were necessary for that to happen. So the very act of bringing these characters back completely backpedals on that entire idea, unless the Dark Aether storyline was part of Nikolai's plan. I could see that being a thing that they write in at some point, but it's like, guys, it's just gonna feel so shoehorned in either way you look at it, and the characters sacrificing themselves is just gonna feel pointless. At the time of recording this, the game is not even out yet, and I already feel like their sacrifices were kind of pointless. So I'm not really sure if Treyarch can even come up with a story that would be satisfying to continue the ending of Tog der Toten, because either way, it kind of seems like they're just kind of shooting themselves in the foot with either direction that they take. So essentially, they write in that this is part of Nikolai's plan, and this whole thing was foretold in the Chronorium when Nikolai read it, and he knew everything that was going to play out. He knew that the new universe was eventually going to break through to the Dark Aether, and he knew that all these events in the Dark Aether storyline were going to happen, and that him and the rest of the crew were going to re-emerge in the Dark Aether at some point to actually put an end to it, or something along the lines of that. That's option A. Option B is they go into the new story and they don't address it whatsoever, and either one seems like just not good. Like, I don't know another way to word that. Either way you go, it doesn't seem like that's a winning solution. And I am trying to be hopefully optimistic about it, just based off of what Nolan North was saying on the COD Pod, and also based off of what we know about these new versions of these characters. But I promise you guys, there's a valid reason for all of my skepticism, and I know this sounds like really negative, but it's not for no reason. If you followed Black Ops 6 Zombies storyline, or any storyline of zombies post Tag der Toten, you know that the story has been extremely weak, and while it is better and it's the most improved we've seen in Black Ops 6, it still was just not quite there. But the whole reason for the story kind of being put on the back burner in the first place was because of the reception of Black Ops 4. During BO4, Treyarch were really in a tough spot when it comes to balancing story and gameplay, and they decided to put story more on the back burner to really hone in on a new gameplay experience. And I'd say for the most part, all of the new gameplay that they introduced in Cold War and how it evolved all the way up to BO6 is perfectly fine in my opinion. I have no major gripes with it. I have some small things, but for the most part, the gameplay of Modern Zombies is very solid in my opinion. But now we're at a point where the story really needs to come back full swing. And if anything, I think BO6 really should have been Treyarch's opportunity to prove to us what they were capable of, and prove to us the story is important and that they can put something forward that we can enjoy again. And like I said, the story on BO6 is far better than what we had been getting, but it still was just not quite there. BO6 was the first Zombies since Black Ops 4 to bring back a new set crew, and when they revealed BO6 and I saw these characters stepping out of the doors of Terminus, I was like, holy shit, we are back. And I was so excited to see the relationships of these characters change, and I was so excited specifically for Weaver. Weaver has so much lore from the Black Ops 1 campaign and from the Cold War story. It made me so excited to see how he was going to change throughout the story of Black Ops 6, and I was just mentally comparing this to Black Ops 3 in my head, because if you guys remember, they marketed BO6 as being a hybrid between BO3 and Cold War, and for the most part, that is what we got. But the story just still does not compare to BO3, and I thought if there was any chance for them to prove to us that they can write a compelling character, it would be in Black Ops 6, and unfortunately that is just not what we got. They did not get enough dialogue with each other, they do not get enough insight into what's going on around them, they just hardly get any type of character progression or any type of character building whatsoever, especially with each other, their relationships. We don't hear them talk to each other hardly at all. The conversational quotes are very dry, and most of the information you get get about the maps or the characters are found through intel, which you only pick up one time, and then after that you have to go to the menus to view all the intel that you've collected. They really were so close to getting BO6 perfected, but because of all of the lack of everything I just said, I am not convinced that they can write good dialogue for our OG characters. And it is not our fault as the consumer for thinking this way. This is the story that they presented to us. I can only base this opinion off of the work that I've seen in Black Ops 6. That's why I find myself slightly concerned that they're just gonna somehow not do these characters justice. And like I said earlier in the video, they created these characters as essentially brand new people, which the one downside to that I can see playing out in my head is that they can use this as an excuse to not write them as well as they would have otherwise. Because if they had all of that old lore dangling over their heads, it would just be a mission that is doomed from the start. So my biggest fear is that they just use this as an excuse to get more of the same poor writing and not give these characters as much depth as they deserve. Like, it's okay, guys, it's okay if we don't write them as good. They're not like the actual original characters, right? They're new characters, so it doesn't matter. We don't need to take responsibility for ruining these characters because it's not actually them. And that's just so unfortunate to me. Like, I really wish that I did not think this way about it, but that is just the state that it's in at the moment. I have no reason to think that that wouldn't be what we're getting. And I say all this because I care. I really want BO7 Zombies to succeed. I want to fall in love with these characters and these stories all over again. I would really love to get new memories while also simultaneously reliving the old memories that I had of these characters from Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, even Black Ops 1. And at the moment, I'm just not entirely convinced that Treyarch are capable of pulling it off simply based off of the Black Ops 6 story. But again, I am trying to be hopefully optimistic. Maybe they will pull out a story that just knocks my socks off and just exceeds my expectations exponentially. And I really am basing most of this off of what Nolan North was saying on the COD Pod. Because if he is saying it's the best ever, again, I'm not sure if I entirely believe that. I really just have to see it for myself to believe it at this point. But Nolan North is one of my favorite voice actors of all time. I have so much respect for all of the work that he does. He plays many characters that I love, not just Richtofen. He plays many other characters in other games that I have a lot of love for, and I really do respect his opinion a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was his actual full-blown truthful opinion that he thinks BO7 Zombies is the best story that he's seen as far as playing Richtofen goes. But there is still just like that slight thing in the back of my head where I'm like, but it's Activision though, and like, you work for Activision, and I know you don't want to say nothing bad about Activision, but it wasn't even that he wasn't trying to say something bad about Activision. He was full-blown saying that he loved Activision. So like, that is just like kind of a red flag to me. But other than that, in the COD Pod, when he says that this is his favorite story that he's worked on in Zombies, the other people in the room interviewing him seemed shocked and surprised that he said that. And if I'm being honest, I was even a little surprised that he said that. Like, I don't know if anyone was expecting him to say that.
I just got back from a Comic-Con. They said, "What's your favorite Zombies?" I said, "The one that's coming out. You're not going to believe how good this is." I love
so excited to hear you say
I love the
that.
concept.
But these two other people in the room representing Activision were shocked that he said BO7 was the best story. That makes me a little more than slightly concerned. But something I failed to mention in this video up until this point is that the Terminus crew is also going to be present in Black Ops 7. And having 8 playable characters on the map does sound kind of interesting to me, because if the writing is good, the dialogue between all 8 of these characters could allow for some pretty good insight into who these new characters are, and I believe this is actually how they intended this to play out. But I will say, just because of how the Terminus crew was written in BO6 and how poorly written they were, even if the new crew follows suit and is also poorly written, I personally will have no reason to load into a match of Black Ops 7 Zombies as anyone other but our OG characters. I personally have no connection to the Terminus crew whatsoever, and that is just the most disappointing shit to come out of Black Ops 6. Like I said earlier about Weaver, I was really hoping to become attached to these characters characters in some kind of way, and that just never happened. Like, the writing was just not there. And if I feel that way about these characters now, there's no shot that I'm gonna be loading into the map as Maya, Gray, Carver, or Weaver. Like, there's just no way I'm gonna pick them over the OG characters. They've given me no reason to care, and even though the OG crew are technically new characters with new backgrounds, just because of my nostalgia for them, I'm going to choose to load in as them every single time. And that is also a big thing that I'm concerned about with this game. But it's not even inherently BO7's fault, it's entirely the fault of Black Ops 6, and I really hope that our new OG characters don't follow in that same pattern. But yeah, sorry if this video turned out to be more negative than I intended it to be. I really am looking forward to it, and I hope that they do deliver something to us that we find acceptable at the very least, because you cannot take the reputation of these characters and destroy it, and you also cannot take the lack of lore of these characters and use that as an excuse to implement the poor writing like what we saw in Black Ops 6. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm sure we're all probably feeling about the same about this, but if you have an opposite opinion of mine, if you have the same opinion of mine, please leave it in the comments. I would greatly appreciate any type of discussion going on down there. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. And this has been Muphlez, guys. Thank you for watching. Later.